Greetings, brothers and sisters. So, this is sort of going to be, I don't know, an epic video about Larry King, even though I didn't watch his show or know very much about him, or really I don't think I've ever covered him before. There was some drama. The New York Post was posting divorce drama from Larry very recently, like 3 months ago, and I had a couple of articles up on my toolbar, and I never got around to making a video about it. And, he got COVID, but he's somebody who's had multiple heart attacks and he had lung cancer. So I was thinking if he survived COVID, how deadly could it be if he was somebody who would survive it? And they're not saying COVID was the cause of death. Apparently he was let out of the hospital after having COVID a week or so. And so it's unclear what he died from. Again, he had really poor health. When I think of Larry King, like the first time I watched Larry King, and I don't know when that was, I was like, wow, how's that guy still alive? He just always seemed very old and decrepit and somebody who was in poor physical health his entire time on TV. Like anytime I saw him, I was like, how's this guy keep on going, right? Because he never looked like the epitome of health or being strong or any of these things, right? Just somebody who was, he was the OG, like the original ghoul, And so I don't even know. I don't even understand why it took this long. I think he had 3 heart surgeries or something and lung cancer and a variety of other health issues. But he kept on trugging along. He was on TV for years, even as an old person. But, he might be the most famous person who died from COVID, if that's what they end up saying. There's his wife he recently got divorced from. Scary looking person in her own right. And so let's get into it here. So one of the things I like about making videos, especially something like this, is I will remember something. So my only real association with Larry King, I don't remember ever watching him on CNN. I don't think I watched CNN all that much years and years ago. But what I do remember is this very telling exchange between Larry King and Jon Stewart. And this memory, that I somehow retain for whatever reason, is the reason why I'm making this video. Without it, I wouldn't have made this video, or at least it'd be really short and not really substantive. But because I remembered this interview and this, definition and exchange between Jon Stewart, it became something where I think it's profound. So it was interesting because I feel like I saw that interview years ago because I had no interest in Larry King. I don't even know why I watched it or where I watched it, but somehow I did, or at least part of it. And now so many years later, it's paying dividends in the form of this video.
I didn't come here to be treated like that.
Where do you usually go?
So that's the first piece. Where does he go to be mistreated? Where do you go, Larry? Because a lot of these celebrities like to be mistreated. And so where would you go to be mistreated, Larry?
Not kidding.
You detail, a lot of marriages.
7 marriages. It was 7. 7 divorces, 7 marriages. His last divorce was in 2019. A lot of drama. Because like I said, I saw headlines and I read a little bit about it in the New York Post. And I just never got around to covering it. But weird stuff, right? Weird drama, weird family drama. And so I'm not going to talk about that here. I'm not going back to look up those articles. But he had a weird life. 7 marriages. So this is, at what point do you give up, right? After your 6th divorce, do you just give up? But not Larry. So the last wife was married for like 20 years. That was the longest one. But didn't make it all the way because they got divorced in 2019, just about a little over a year ago.
A lot of gambling. I didn't realize until I read this, you are a degenerate.
Yeah, have you ever looked at Larry? Right? He looks like the Crypt Keeper. he looked like the Crypt Keeper when he was young, and he was 7 marriages, 7 divorces, and he was, with all these celebrities. He was the sort of the originator of bringing Hollywood to the mainstream news. And so that's why CNN and these other networks are so celebrity oriented. And so, yeah, so calling him a degenerate, that's key, but he keeps on going with it.
This book shows you're lucky to really be alive.
I know degenerates.
Yeah, you do, Larry. We know you know a lot of degenerates, right? Because of your ties to CNN News and to the celebrity Hollywood culture.
You've done research.
That's how I know you're a degenerate.
No. You read.
I'm with you.
Yeah, you are. You're totally with him, John. Couple of degenerates sitting down for a nice chat.
About the other chapter where you're borrowing money from the guy who had given money to the Supreme Court judge. He gives you money to give to the judge that's Democrats for Nixon. He's going to give millions of dollars. You take the money and pay off gambling debts.
No, I paid off Internal Revenue.
There you go. Laugh it up, right? Taking money from judges and paying off bookies or the IRS, or basically the same. It's basically the same thing.
I was in the White House with Clinton the night that Vince Foster killed himself. Right. Me and Clinton are there. We're the only 2 in the house that don't know it.
I bet one of you knew it. I bet one of you knew it. I don't think both of you didn't know it, right?
You're like that talisman from the Brady Bunch. Like, you're around, and suddenly everybody gets hurt.
This is the Brady Bunch talisman, if you didn't see the show. And I would say this is an accurate description of Larry King, a bad luck talisman warlock.
Then I'd be careful going home tonight.
What?
So this is obviously important, right? Larry King, some sort of bad luck warlock, degenerate as Jon Stewart calls him, married 7 times. Put a hex on him, Larry. Put a hex on. Look him put on one of his ghoulish hexes. And so this morning I turned on the news, was eating breakfast, and CNN was doing a tribute to Larry King and how Larry King was one of the foundational building blocks, the first and major one, to CNN becoming what it's become now. So think of Larry King as a character, as a person, as a entity in essence, and his influence over one of the most powerful news network, a global news network, and Larry King put a hex on it. So let's get into that. Let me show you the CNN thing.
Good morning. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. We have very sad breaking news to bring you. The broadcasting legend Larry King has died at the age of 87. He was the king of talk and the face of CNN for some 25 years.
This is the face of CNN. The face of CNN. This is a tribute piece, and the first picture they roll out is this. Like, how you want to wake up and look at that bug. I mean, that's why he went through 7 wives, right? The dark talisman from the Brady Bunch, this warlock, original ghoul. That was the face of CNN, and still the face of CNN. That's what CNN looks like. That's what CNN's soul looks like.
Larry King became an icon through his interviews, speaking with actors and sports figures, presidents and heads of state. A source close to his family said he had been hospitalized with COVID-19 in early January. Throughout his life, he battled a number of major health problems, suffering several heart attacks and a lung cancer diagnosis.
So I looked it up. He had multiple heart procedures, one in 2019, just another heart procedure. But in 1987, he had a quintuple, 5, a double bypass, triple bypass, a quadruple bypass. He had a quintuple bypass, and he gave up his 3-pack a day smoking habit that led to his lung cancer, and he still had multiple heart issues and things. And so he was diagnosed or admitted to the hospital with COVID on January 2nd. He died on January 23rd. So it took 3 weeks for COVID, if that's the cause of his death, to kill him. With that kind of history, I mean, he was 87 years old. He always looked like he was on death's door. 3-pack-a-day cigarette habit for most of his life. 7 marriages, drinker, gambler. I mean, degenerate, as Jon Stewart said. And it took 3 weeks after getting COVID for this guy to die. Someone with lung cancer, and COVID's hard on both the lungs and the heart.
In 1987, he underwent quintuple bypass surgery. Larry King died this morning at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Let's start with more on the life and legacy of the broadcasting legend and my good friend, Larry King. He was the king of talk.
Larry was the face of CNN.
From presidents to professional athletes.
You still face racism when you play?
Music royalty.
How do they tell you you're going to be a knight?
To actual royalty. Movie stars to murderers.
What's it like to kill someone?
What's it like to kill someone? What an excellent interviewer. How did it feel when you plunged the knife into his heart? Like, what are you doing, you ghoul? Like, you don't know, Lair. Like, you don't know the answer to that question.
Heads of state to captains of industry.
Is that a logical expansion bill for Microsoft?
No one captured pop culture like Larry King on his iconic show.
It was breaking news. It was long profiles. It was presidents.
It was the most interesting show that we had.
Interesting in part because King landed so many exclusives.
Deep Throat himself, Mark Felt, finally speaks.
Yeah, well, the fact that he's named Deep Throat, he's the Watergate leaker. He did a lot of talking, Larry, before you're, coming on your show. But think about this. The reason I'm doing this video, think about what CNN is now. Like how much theatrics they have, how much of a joke it is, right? How much it's, not legitimate. Like it's celebrity culture stuff, and it's just, dramatized news and all the rest of it. And Larry King was the guy who laid the foundation of what CNN is now, and the kind of character he had, the kind of person he was. This is essential to understand, because CNN influenced MSNBC and what that became, and even Fox.
And on Larry King Live, it certainly did.
Goodbye.
So that was weird, right? Marlon Brando was a weird dude. My wife told me about this sketch from Saturday Night Live with Marlon Brando and Larry King.
Come on, get on.
All right, Marlon, the Godfather has spoken. All
That's
right.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, got a date with an
All
angel.
right. All right,
got
Marlon.
a date with an angel.
The book is songs my mother taught me. The man writing me, Marlon Brando.
Are you happy, Larry?
Very happy.
You look
Marlon,
sad.
very
Tell your
happy.
face that you're
Come
happy.
on.
With Marlon Brando writing Larry King at the end of the sketch, feeding him cookies of an unknown origin, dressing him up in a bonnet, demanding he take off his pants, and then writing him and slapping him on his buttocks. And that was, not that much weirder than what we see going on here.
Belief. For 3 years, I dreamed of being on the radio one day. That's all I ever dreamed of.
That dream came true in the 1950s in Miami, Florida. New city, new job, and a new name, courtesy of his boss.
He's got the Miami Herald open, and there was an ad for King's Wholesale Liquors. And he says, "That's your name, Larry King."
Wait, so King isn't your real name? You weren't born Larry King, right? He wasn't a king in real life. He was a warlock.
This is the premiere edition of Larry King Live.
I think we both put each other on the map.
We made CNN because everyone started coming to that show.
Among them, the leaders of the free world.
I don't want to dwell on the Watergate thing. You might well have been reelected if you didn't pardon Richard Nixon.
What are you proudest of?
What is it like to be shot?
It sucks, Larry. What's it like to get quintuple, quincentennial bypass surgery? What's that like? You know, I don't think you need to ask somebody that question. Oh, it was great. You know, it was great. When the bullet entered my body, I felt this euphoria. You know, it was like eating chocolate.
June 1994, another historic TV moment unfolds while King is on the air.
Police believe that O.J. Simpson is in that car.
The slow-speed chase gave way to the trial of the century and one of the biggest stories of King's career.
The O.J. Simpson story was the first reality TV.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that too, Larry. He molded CNN into what it is today, and he brought about reality TV with O.J. Simpson. He had quite a career, you know. Everything he did, the talisman from the Brady Bunch.
Now, live from Los Angeles, here's Larry King.
After court wrapped up for the day, key figures in the trial headed to King's show night after night.
We ended up knowing all the players from Johnny Cochran
A lawyer doesn't have to believe his client did or didn't do something, correct?
to Marcia Clark.
Did you say we are fighting a losing battle here?
You bet. It was such a shocking...
No, it wasn't. But you know what? It gave us the Kardashians, at least. It was a blight on humanity. Let's call it what it is.
that we covered it from the beginning until the end.
When it was over, even the man at the center of it all went to King first.
With us on the phone now is O.J. Simpson.
So many of my friends have told me that you've been fair in hosting your show and bringing the points of view from both sides.
It's not both sides. Either you did or you didn't do it. You know? And most of us think you did.
Covering the trial from Los Angeles affected King's personal life. That's where he met his seventh wife, Shawn. They were together more than 20 years before filing for divorce in 2019.
7 wives, 7 sons, right? All the markings of a warlock. Then there's this little ditty from Anderson Cooper.
I think one of the things that he and I early on discussed and bonded on was that we both lost our dads when we were kids. Larry's dad died of a heart attack at age 44.
So I found that really interesting because so many celebrities, I've covered this for years, have some sort of a tragic death of a family member or loved one. And of course, many celebrities die early in tragic deaths themselves, or what people think of as tragic deaths. And it seems to be some sort of a price, whatever way you want to think about it, for celebrity. When you have all these big-time A-list celebrities, I mean, you're talking about here Anderson Cooper and Larry King, both losing their dads at a young age and affecting them. And he goes on to talk about how much it affected Larry. He was obsessed with it. And again, dying of a heart attack when he was 44, and Larry King having all these heart issues over the years. So this this portrait of Larry King, who looked like the crypt keeper when he started at CNN, shaping CNN into this celebrity-cultured, I mean, just a shadow of what news used to be, or what news could be, right? I mean, just this glitzy, pop-cultured, lightweight news organization that barely is able to, get through anything seriously. And then the way it handled Trump. Apparently Donald Trump was one of Larry King's favorite guests, and he guest hosts the show. But in terms of all this, when you're, and I said this about Q, the essence of Q behind QAnon, and then all these other movements, Trump and all these other people, when the center of your movement, the founder of your movement, is not a good person. Like Larry King was, a guy who smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day, had an addictive personality, a drinker and a gambler, a womanizer, and these things. Somebody who was very materialistic and gross. And he was, his shadow looms over CNN. And this is why I talk about spirituality. What are you on the inside? What kind of person are you on the inside in terms of your ability to emote love and, sacrifice yourself for other people's needs and be a better person? I mean, this is the stuff from the Heartfulness Meditation. And so all of these things have to be factored in because the person, the spiritual essence behind any movement, and Larry King is in many ways the father of cable news, and we all dislike cable news here in the so-called truth community, and it's just a blight on humanity. And he covered all these things and these people, just twisted and weird and all this stuff. And it's because there's no, God in it, right? And he's named the King, right? Larry King. There's no God. There's no God consciousness. There's no love in it. And it's just, depravity. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.